Okay, today we're going to make a very simple part, this wrench in Autodesk Inventor. So you want to locate the Autodesk Inventor icon on your desktop or under the Start menu. Then we're going to select New and then English US and select the part file. You can also select New under the Start menu. So let's get started. First thing we want to do is go under here, File, and then New. You can see I've already done that and got a new workspace. And we want to start a two-dimensional sketch. So Start 2D Sketch. We want to select a plane on which to draw. How about this one right here? Then it will face that plane, allowing you to draw. One of the first things we want to do is to make a handle for this wrench. And so let's use the third option down from the rectangle tool. You can see I'm on the Sketch tab. 2-point rectangle, 2-point center rectangle rather. And we want to select the center of the drawing space, the origin, then drag it out until it's about, I don't know, a couple inches by less than an inch, like that. Now we want to make it exact on those dimensions. So for the first one, we will select dimension up here, select this line, and we're going to make that one 3 inches. Sometimes you have to double click that in order to type in 3 to make it exactly 3 inches. You can use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Or you go over here to the right-hand side and zoom a little bit to the extent of the object. The next thing you want to do is maybe pan a little bit. So what I'm doing is holding the scroll wheel down to pan, and then we're going to use dimension and make this one right here 0.375. So 3/8 of an inch like that. This is going to represent the handle. Now the next part of this is the circular pieces that are going to go out on the edge right here, out on the ends, and then we're going to make hexagons in this shape in order to form the wrench, as you can see going through the instructions. So I'm going to take you through these instructions. The next thing we're going to do is make a 0.9 diameter circle on each end that starts at the midpoint of each end of the handle. All right, that's not the right instance of Autodesk Inventor, but this is. So now we're going to go over here under Circle, and then hover over this line until it highlights and becomes green. That means we're at the midpoint of that circle. You can go out here, just make it an arbitrary distance. And then this one, you can do the same thing. And then we can make it definitely 0.9 inches by selecting the dimension tool. Click, click, and then double click to make that 0.9. Now, you may not have to double click on yours. For some reason, mine is set up so that when you click here, it doesn't automatically allow you to change it. I have to double click it to do 0.9. If you ever make a mistake, you can just hit Control Z and it'll undo it, or Control Y to redo it, as you see there. Now, what we could do here is erase some of these visible lines here to make a solid piece. So without any visible line breaks. And that'll make it for a cleaner extrude. But let me just show you some of the fundamentals in this one. So go under the three-dimensional model, 3D model, and select extrude. And if you hover over this shape like that and click on it, you'll see, first of all, it turns red, and then it goes up a distance of 1 inch. Now, we only want the handle to be 0.15 inches, or yeah, maybe 0.2 or 0.15 is good. Now, we really wanted all of this to extrude, but we can easily do that here by selecting these shapes. But normally, when we're doing more advanced Autodesk Inventor work, we'll go ahead and erase those visible lines so it's just one click for one solid object. But we're just learning the fundamentals here. To draw on the surface, use a right click on it and say New Sketch. And they're going to make a hexagon right over here. So hexagons are located under the rectangle tool all the way at the bottom. And you try to find a center here, and it's pretty difficult to find. So I'm going to hit Escape to escape out of that. That way I can see if I can make it easier to find the center. To do that, you want to say Project Geometry, just the top button right up here, and then select that circle, and you'll see that the center now shows up here and over here as well. Once you do that, you can come back to the hexagon. It's really polygon, but it says 6 right here. And you select that midpoint, go over here a little bit, and we will size it properly in just a moment. But let's just make it an arbitrary size like that. Now, this other one, we don't want it to start in the middle because we want this one to be a box end wrench on this side, and we want this one to be open end wrench here. So let's just generally put it over this way a little bit and then come out like that. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a moment once we use these hexagons to perform a cut. Now, the next thing we want to do is figure out what kind of a size wrench we're looking at here. And I'm using 0.578. Let's see. I think I've adjusted to give it a little bit of allowance in there to go over the nut or bolt. I think this is probably a 5/8 if I'm remembering correctly on this. So we're just going to use the dimensions that I worked up over here to allow for some allowance to go around the nuts and bolts. So 0.578 is going to be the flat to flat distance on these hexagons. So dimension tool, top to bottom, flat to flat. And what did I say? Double click on that one. 0.578, I think. Then hit enter. Let's do the same thing on this other side here. You can even come back over this way if you want to, or even up there. 0.578. Now this one, if you perform the cut, it'll probably look kind of weird. It'll especially look weird. Let's get off the dimension tool. So I'm going to hit escape to get the dimension tool to cancel. And then what you can do is grab this middle one and move it around a little bit. Now I want to move it around, not until it's at the center, but just enough so that maybe this point comes to the edge of the circle, but maybe not quite, just a little bit right there, because this is going to look weird if we try to cut that. You'll see what I'm talking about. Let's just put it almost right there. And now let's perform that cut so you can see what I'm talking about. To cut, you still use the 3D model tab, and then you hit extrude, but this time you select this cut option down here under output. So select that one right there, highlight over the shape you want to cut, and you can see it's kind of like a cookie cutter. Goes all the way through it, just like that. And because we properly place that one right there, you get this shape here. Now, if you make a mistake, remember to hit Control Z, and then you can even come over here and right click and edit if you want to edit the sketch. Oh, it looks like I'm still editing the sketch. To finish editing, you go like this, and to begin editing again, go like that. So if you make a mistake and you go, you know what, I really want to pull this in just a little bit closer without, breaking that line right there, of course. Then you hit finish, and watch what will happen now is if I go extrude and I'm doing the cut, and it looks like it's doing the wrong thing. So I'm going to say cut, and we're going to go all the way through, all like that. Look at that, got a wrench. So now we want to smooth it out on the edges right here. We want to use a fillet tool. It looks like the word fillet, but it's really fillet. That's the use of the word in drafting and computer-aided design. So here we want this curvature of the edge to be 0.06. And what am I talking about curvature? I'm talking about that. So now you can see that we're making the sharp edge a little bit more friendly to the fingers. So go like that and like this, and we're curving all of those edges, this one and this one and this one. And looks like we got about all of them. If I click OK, you see that I don't quite have all of them, because if I orbit under the bottom, you'll see that I missed one. So what I'm going to do is hold down the Shift key, hold down the middle of my mouse wheel, and orbit underneath it. So if I only use the mouse wheel, it's for pan. If I'm using Shift and then hold down the mouse wheel, it'll let me orbit underneath it. Now, we don't really want to make this smooth edge like a fillet. We only want to make this part right here a fillet, and that part there. All right, did I get everything this time? We don't want to make the insides of that, because this is where the tool hits the wrench, the bolt or the nut. It looks pretty good. Now, to center this part back up, you can just go over here to this view cube and click on Home. And now we can start drawing on this surface, because we want to label it with our name on there somewhere. So let's right click in this red space here and say New Sketch. And what we're going to do is try to draw or put lettering on here and engrave maybe our name or something else on there. To rotate this drawing surface, you can go up here to the view cube and click rotate like this. Then go up here to text. And let's see, we want to go to just the top one here. And let's draw a rectangle that we want to have our text within. So once we do that, it'll pop up with a window in it. It will say, what do you want to type? and I'll say SFA engineering. Now you see that it's kind of almost looking like it's printing vertically, and you'll see why that's going to happen in a minute. If I select all and then try to make it bold, and then maybe make it a little bit bigger like that, and then click OK. So make sure you do point 125 and bold. Um, and click OK, you'll see that the lettering is not rotated properly. That's okay. We have rotation tools over here on the Sketch tab. Rotate. You can see the first thing it says is select the object you want to rotate. So we highlight the text until it turns blue. And then it says select a center point. That means to find a corner, like you see this red dotted line, that's the rectangle that I drew. Select that one, and then it'll let you rotate this around like so. Okay, and then what we can do is back up with the scroll wheel, click done over here, and then try to get it back over to the center. You can just click on it until it turns red. And then we need to make this rectangle go the other way. You can see how it's kind of vertical. Oh, it looks like I didn't rotate it properly all the way. See, it's not exactly 90. So in that case, I'm gonna hit Control Z a couple times and do it one more time. So again, rotate, select the object. Okay, there's the object. Now select the center that we want to rotate about. It can really be anything, but let's go around this red corner and then go up like that. Make sure it says 90 all the way over here to the left-hand side. And let's see if it's going to say 90 this time. It does. Say done. Move this over. Let's try to reshape this rectangle by, can we grab the middle? I didn't mean to do that. I said escape a couple of times. What it's doing is it's showing me the degrees of freedom, but I didn't really need to do that. All right, so let's see. It's not letting me select it easily. Let's go in a little bit closer. Sometimes we got to get closer to this until you select it. There we go. And we want to keep doing that until it's in such an orientation that the words stretch across the part. Now we can click on this, move it a little bit closer to the center, and now we can engrave it. We can either use the engrave tool, but I like to use the extrude tool for today's simple wrench. We're going to do a cut, and this time I'm going to say 1 space mm. In other words, I'm going to make this 1 millimeter cut down. So you could do a mixture of units, although it's not technically recommended, or typically recommended rather. That might be a little bit too deep on the cut as well. But let's just see how it looks. We can always put 0.5 millimeters. And you can see now it's trying to raise it. You see it right there? And we could say, let's go around and cut it this way. Let's see if that's going to do it properly this time. So make sure it says cut here. And then let's see how it looks. There it is. So now we have it engraved, so we don't have to use multiple colors necessarily for our wrench. We can engrave the name of it here. Of course, the next thing you would want to do is probably do a 3D print, and you can use some of the features within Autodesk Inventor to do that. You can go to Environments, 3D Print, and it says you want to save it first. Okay, so we should probably save this as wrench, W-R-E-N-C-H, and then some initials. Save that right there. And all this is really going to do over on this tab is save it in a file that can be loaded up with a 3D printing software. So STL file is the common file type that is used for 3D printing, like that. And so you can see I did another one with WDB. This is a new one with SFA. Okay, and so there's a file that's not really typically the way you would want to print. Let's get out of this mode and I'll show you the correct way. If you go further than this, normally this is where we stop the activity, but I want to show you that what we can also do is 3D print. Go over here to prepare. You can see I did a bunch of wrenches on here. Let me show you how I did that. I'm going to select all of them and delete them, and then import the part that I just made, SFA right there. And you can see it is printed in the wrong direction, so you can say lay it flat. And then you can just right click on this right here and say fill the print bed with as many copies as you can. Let's see if that's going to load up for us. And say fill bed with copies. And so you can make a lot of them. It looks like you could probably make a lot more if you put these closer together. All right, that concludes this activity as far as building a wrench or designing a wrench rather in Autodesk Inventor. I will see you in the next video.